by BJP leader Gaurav Bhatia on the broadcast. Sir, a very good afternoon to you and thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. Once again, the focus is back on this very case, and clearly Congress has hit back saying that this is nothing less than vendetta politics being played out by your party, adding that, the BJP continues to in fact misuse the central agencies to target, to hound the opposition leaders. What do you have to say on this?
I just wish to refresh their memory. The Gandhi Parivar, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are the most corrupt leaders in India, and they are out on bail in this very matter. If the ED wants to probe the money laundering aspect, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are also citizens, and they are not above the law of the country. They must cooperate in the investigation. And second, most importantly, I would like to say that now the investigating agencies are independent and they are working day and night fearlessly to punish the corrupt. So the time has changed when CBI used to be called a cage parrot by the Honorable Supreme Court. Now under the BJP government, we have a zero tolerance policy for corruption, and the guilty will be booked and punished.
All right, sir. Sir, do you think when they say that, the opposition leaders are being targeted, to what extent do you agree to this? I mean, this is a charge that has been leveled by leaders from other opposition parties as well. So what is your counter to that?
The counter is very simple, that political vendetta is a ground as per the Supreme Court judgment of Bhajan Lal, and the proceedings can be quashed. This is an old case. Why didn't Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi move the court and get this quashed? They should have. But there is substance in the allegation. These are serious allegations. And that is why the court has not interfered in this matter. This is a fact that should be, reiterated to refresh their memory.
All right, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, thank you so much for your time to Mirror Now. That was BJP leader Gaurav Bhatia speaking to Mirror Now. And I'm also being joined by Mr. Charan Singh Sapra, Congress leader. Sir, a very good afternoon to you. Clearly, the spotlight is back on this case. And your party, in fact, we just heard Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi refuting all the charges, saying that clearly this is an attempt to deflect from the real issues plaguing the country. What is your hit back, rather your counter to this latest move, where the ED has summoned the senior most leaders from your party?
See, Congress is not scared of the notices and the summons which are being sent by the frontal organizations of Modi government. We'll answer that, and we will probably also reach at ED office on that day. This is a politics of vendetta, a complete witch hunt, and I feel this is another attempt to misuse the government agencies to benefit the ruling party. This is nothing but a conspiracy, a bit to deflect the attention or divert the attention from the major issues, from the major failures of Modi government. And since 8 years, we are watching that not a single person from the ruling party has been raided or has been investigated. It is only leaders of opposition party which are being raided by all these frontal organizations, whether they are CBI, ED, IT, or whichever agency it is. So Modi government is using these agencies to benefit its own government. It is an attempt to tarnish the image of opposition leaders. It is an attempt for character assassination of opposition leaders. We have also seen that as soon as the leaders of opposition parties like Mukul Roy or maybe Narayan Rane, when they go to BJP, their dirty linens are washed in Kamal Chap washing machine with Kamal Chap detergent. So I feel this is completely false. They are misusing the agencies, and we will fight it out. Congress party will keep fighting against the flaws of BJP rule.
All right, Mr. Charan Singh Sapra, thank you for speaking to Mirror Now, and I urge you to stay here with us. I'm also being joined by, in fact, Shiv Sena MP, Mrs. Priyanka Chaturvedi. Priyanka, thank you so much for speaking to Mirror Now. Now, once again, Congress is asserting that, this is a complete witch hunt by the BJP. And time and again, in fact, we've seen, opposition leaders, leveling the same charge against the BJP, how, quote unquote, it continues to misuse the central agencies to hound the opposition leaders. What's your take on this recent development?
It is safe to say that Enforcement Directorate can now be renamed and rechristed as Extended Department of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And I say this with total, responsibility on how ED has been conducting itself and how its officials have totally cowed down to the whims and fancies of a political party which is at power at the center. These central agencies, which were constitutionally bound to ensure that there was no financial fraud that took place and there was rule of law that could be enforced, has been totally bypassed. And this is exactly a sentiment that every single non-Bharatiya Janata Party across states has been feeling. Every time BJP has a challenge in terms of answering questions from the people of the country, they try to divert and deflect the attention to non-BJP governed states and are attacking non-BJP leaders. This is a conspiracy against non-BJP governments and leaders. And last but not the least, I'd like to say, since 2014, we have been hearing about this National Herald case without a shred of proof or evidence that could in any way implicate any of those so-called people that they keep bringing into conversation every now and then and dragging ED case against them. So if they have anything concrete, then they should make it public. Otherwise, every single person of this country would realize that this is nothing but a witch hunt to continue to, trouble those states which are not governed by the Bharatiya Janata Party or those leaders who strongly oppose the Bharatiya Janata Party at the center.
All right, Priyanka Chaturvedi, here since you've joined us, I also want to, throw light on the fact that how time and again, in fact, we've been reporting how several Maharashtra ministers have also been summoned by the central agencies. In fact, very recently we saw that, how ED raided premises linked to Maharashtra Minister Anil Parab. So what's your take on that? Time and again, even the ministers from your cabinet have also been facing the central agency heat.
See, Maharashtra has very clearly exposed the role of Central Bureau of Investigation, which became the Central BJP India headquarters. We've also exposed NCB Narcotics Bureau very recently. And ED stands totally exposed because they continue to target those governments, like I said, whether it is Shiv Sena leaders, whether it is TMC leaders, whether it is the Congress leaders, anyone putting up a strong fight against the Bharatiya Janata Party, they end up pulling in ED, CBI, IT, etc. to work against them. This is a conspiracy and this is a witch hunt very clearly against leadership which has been vocal against the Bharatiya Janata Party. So it is unfortunate, and I think after the lessons that they can learn from NCB, they don't seem to have learned any lessons. And today these bureaucrats stand compromised against an entire system which should have been fair, free and strong.
Thank you for your time to Mirror Now. That was Sena MP Priyanka Chaturvedi speaking to Mirror Now. And I would like to go back to Congress leader Charan Singh Sapra here. Sir, one last question from you here. We know that, we're getting to know in fact that Rahul Gandhi is not in the country right now, and we know that he's been summoned tomorrow. So what can be expected?
No, let's see. Our advocates will be getting in touch with the ED, and if they give a chance, we might take a new date.
All right, Mr. Sapra, thank you for your time to Mirror Now. That was Congress leader and spokesperson Charan Singh Sapra speaking to Mirror Now on this recent development where senior Congress leader Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi have been summoned by the ED, and this in connection with the National Herald corruption case. And I'm also being joined by senior lawyer Mr. Majid Memon on the broadcast. Sir, a very good afternoon to you and thank you for your time to Mirror Now. What do you have to say on this recent development? Somewhere it also triggers the debate over how the opposition leaders have time and again said that, this is just a means for the BJP to misuse the central agencies and hound the opposition leaders.
See, there has been a lot of noise during past few months that central agencies are being used for the purposes of settling political scores. And as a witch hunt or a political vendetta, opposition leaders are the targets, which unfortunately I think should not be true. In any case, as far as summoning Rahul is concerned or Sonia is concerned, the questions are arising as to whether this call is genuine in honest pursuance of in furtherance of investigation, or it is at the behest of the Bharatiya Janata Party bosses. Because if that the latter is so, then probably there may be problem. Otherwise, if it is genuine investigation, fine, let them do it. But the ED and CBI officers must remember that they are not supposed to harass citizens by calling them and making them, sit for long hours, 8 hours. We have seen that they are questioning the hours, whether sometimes even overnight, which is very, disgusting. The powers given to you are not for abuse. The Supreme Court has said in 1994 judgment that power to arrest or power to call is one thing, but the exercise of such power is another. You should exercise restraint, constraint in using such powers which are creating some kind of lack of confidence in the agencies.
All right. Do you think somewhere this is also raising questions of the credibility of these agencies? And here I would also want to ask you one more question. That do you think somewhere this is a clear-cut attempt to deviate attention from the real issues like unemployment, rising prices, inflation plaguing the country right now, and the youth?
No, that is true. See, the failure of the government is being covered by diverting the people's attention to all these big news. They are becoming top news, and every TV channel, every newspaper turn to these developments, which is not in the interest of the country. As a matter of fact, of course, crimes are to be investigated, crimes are to be detected, and criminals are to be punished. That is one part of a civil society. But then, this kind of onslaught on all political leaders. Yesterday, the health minister has been arrested. Today, Sonia, Rahul are summoned. They are making sensational news, which is, I think, very unfortunate. And in fact, not me or opposition leader, but the Honorable Chief Justice of India has expressed his concern in recent times. If you look back at his statement, which was made a few weeks ago, that he said that central agencies functioning need to be monitored by a committee. What does that suggest?
All right, sir. Thank you for your time to Mirror Now. So that was senior NCP leader and advocate Mr. Majid Memon speaking to Mirror Now on this recent development where the Enforcement Directorate has summoned Congress President Sonia Gandhi and MP Rahul Gandhi. Remember, this is in connection with the National Herald case. Now, the Congress has hit back at the ruling BJP, calling it an attempt to only hound the opposition leaders. The Congress has gone on to say that, in fact, the central agencies are nothing less than puppets of the ruling government to target, to hound the opposition leaders across the country. And in fact, Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi also went on to say that Sonia Gandhi, who has been summoned on the June 8 to appear before the ED in connection with interrogation linked to this very case, will be appearing. Meanwhile, remember, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi has been summoned tomorrow, that is June 2. However, what we're getting to know so far is that he is not present in the country and that the Congress MP has sought more time. So let's see what developments take place tomorrow. So far, we know that a month after, in fact, senior Congress leaders Mallikarjun Kharge and Pawan Bansal were grilled by the ED. It's the first time now that, in fact, the Congress president herself, Sonia Gandhi, and her son, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, have been summoned by the ED. And I'm being joined by Mr. Arvind Sawant, Shiv Sena MP, on the broadcast to share his perspective on this recent development. Sir, what do you have to say?
Nothing is nothing but a political vendetta. This was anticipated, but not to this extent. But then we are experiencing it very badly in Maharashtra. But for these institutions have been formed by the constitution, and they are being misused by the ruling party over there. Right now, the issue, in fact, is not a question of ED acting on some cases and other things. It is the issue is that if you join BJP, then the ED will not be there. Many leaders, many political leaders have joined joined BJP, and before that, before joining BJP, all they were accused by the leaders of the BJP. None other than the chief ministers, ex-chief ministers of Maharashtra is accused. But once that person joins BJP, no, ED's file is closed down. And that is the real issue. And that is a threat to the country. And this is a discrimination between the implementation of the ED's policies in the functioning of the government. And therefore, it's a political vendetta, nothing else. It's a cruel action of the government. And as if the entire BJP is consists of all the people who are so pure, non-corrupt, transparent, and they are the only you can say party. They say it party with differences. Now the differences have been recognized by the country itself. What is the difference? Enmity is the difference. That's all.
All right, so this development also comes at a time, in fact, very recently when the Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain has been arrested by the ED. Then very recently, in fact, if I talk about your own cabinet, we've time and again seen how the ministers in the Maharashtra cabinet have been facing the central agency heat. So, like other opposition leaders have been saying it time and again that, this is a clear-cut attempt to deviate from the real issues. Do you agree on it? Like, what are your 2 cents on it?
Absolutely. That is what the issue. The first, I have said, is a discrimination. Secondly, this is the main issue that the failure of the government in all on all fronts, right from the raising prices of petrol to the raising prices of everything, the injustice to the farmers, injustice to the increasing number of unemployment. So many issues are there. So many issues are there. And those, how to divert the attention of the people from those issues to something else, like those, see the Kashmir file and all those things. What is this going on in the country? They want to divisive politics is being played now. This is purely a divisive politics. See, somebody dies, and then if he dies in the other state, then he says, what a great thing, what FIR should be lodged, and then the investigation will be carried by the, then who says it? The chief home minister of the country says it. When the person has died with a heart attack, still he says FIR should be lodged because he has died in some other state. This is what the discrimination being done by the party. It's not a judicious. It's not at all a judicious part. It is purely vendetta, political vendetta. That's all.
All right, Mr. Arvind Sawant, thank you for your precious time to Mirror Now. So that was Shiv Sena MP Arvind Sawant reiterating that this is nothing less than a witch hunt and political vendetta by the ruling BJP. And on this note, time to slip into a very short break, but don't go anywhere for we'll be back soon.